While I was getting dinner ready for my wife's whole family, I stepped out to the garage to grab a couple extra chairs. That's when I heard her brother say, "I still can't believe you married this loser." Dad's right. You need to leave him before you have kids and get stuck with him forever. She shot back without missing a beat. Already working on it. My lawyer says we can take half his business too. I came back in with the chairs and didn't miss a step, kept hosting like nothing happened, smiling like a pro. 3 days later, my WhatsApp lit up with 49 frantic messages. Thing is, I'd already been getting a weird feeling from Lena the week before that dinner. Not her usual kind of stress, like when she's buried in work or irritated I left my boots out again. No, this was something else entirely. She kept sneaking glances at her phone when she thought I wasn't watching. Switched tabs fast every time I walked behind her laptop. Started taking her calls in another room. After 7 years with someone, you just start picking up on stuff. Like how a builder can spot a crooked wall without needing a level. I never thought I'd be writing something like this. I'm not the type to air out personal stuff online. But it's 4 a.m., I've got a glass of whiskey in hand, and my life has blown apart in just 3 damn days. So here we are. You strangers on the internet get front row seats to the train wreck. Little background. Name's Ethan. I'm 33. Dropped out of community college and started a construction business from the ground up. Just me and an old beat-up truck at first. Now I've got 5 crews working jobs across the county. It's not a huge empire, but it more than covers the bills and then some. Lena, she's 31. We've been married 6 years. I paid for her law school tuition, rent, everything, while I was busting my ass building the business. She comes from a polished upper-middle-class family that never quite accepted the blue-collar guy their daughter chose. Her dad, Gerald's some kind of financial advisor, and her mom, Irene, does real estate. Her brother, Bryce, walks around like that business degree makes him the second coming. I always knew they thought Lena could have done better. The comments about my little business. The digs about me not going back to school. It never really stopped. But Lena always stood up for me. Or, I thought she did. Last Saturday was the annual spring dinner we host. It's her thing, a chance to show off the house to her folks. I spent the morning cleaning the yard, pressure washing the deck, and helping with the food prep. Everything had to be spotless. I'd been up since 6, getting the smoker going for a brisket I'd dry rubbed earlier that week. Lena was more on edge than usual, snapping at me over little stuff, but I chalked it up to dinner stress. Happens every year. Her parents showed up around 4, along with Bryce and his wife, and her little sister Magnolia, who's still grinding through grad school. Right off the bat, her mom started picking apart our living room setup, and her dad hit me with those loaded questions about work. You know, the kind where he's just waiting for you to admit you're failing. By 5, dinner was ready. I'd set the table with the nice wedding china we rarely use, then realized we were short 2 chairs. So I slipped out the side door to grab some from the garage, and that's when I heard voices coming from around the house. It was Lena and Bryce, standing by the azaleas. They were sharing a cigarette, which was odd. She supposedly quit 3 years ago. I was about to call out when I heard my name, and I froze. Bryce was saying he couldn't believe she married me, and that their dad had been right all along. She needed to get out before kids got involved. Then Lena dropped the hammer, said she was already making moves, and that her lawyer figured they could take half my business and the divorce. I just stood there, frozen. Couldn't move. They were laughing, like I had no clue what was happening. They started talking about some guy named Caleb, saying he was a much better match for her. How she'd wasted her prime years with me while I was off playing construction. Have you ever had a moment where your whole world just tilts sideways? 7 years of marriage, nights spent quizzing her for law exams, skipping vacations so she could buy textbooks, working overtime to pay down her loans, all of it suddenly looked different. I didn't say a word, didn't yell. I went ice cold inside. Quietly, I backed away, grabbed those 2 folding chairs, took a few slow breaths, and slapped on the fakest smile I've ever worn. Walking back inside, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror. I looked like me. Normal. Inside? It felt like a bomb had gone off. The rest of the dinner was a blur. I poured wine, sliced the brisket, chuckled at her dad's corny jokes, and watched Lena, this woman who now felt like a complete stranger, pretend everything was fine. I kept watching her face, trying to find the person I married, wondering if that flicker of disdain had always been there and I just hadn't noticed. Then her mom complimented the food and asked for my secret recipe, like I was finally worth asking something from. After all these years, I explained the dry aging process like a robot, just going through the motions while my mind screamed in the background. At one point, Magnolia looked at me kind of funny, like she knew something was off. She's the only one in that family who ever seemed to have a heart. Maybe she knew. Maybe not. After dessert, Bryce raised a toast to family and upcoming changes, looking at Lena with this smug little grin. I clinked glasses and took a sip, fighting the urge to shatter the stemware across his face. They finally left around 11. Lena started cleaning up, humming like everything was just peachy. I told her to head to bed, said I'd take care of the dishes. She kissed my cheek and called me a good husband. That almost made me sick right there. Once she was upstairs, I checked her laptop. New password. That was weird. She'd never locked it before. But I had a hunch she uses patterns. Third guess, I was in. The emails to her lawyer went back 3 months. The plan was to wait until she locked down a partnership at her firm, using my income to boost her status, then file. There were spreadsheets. Detailed ones. Laying out my business assets, our joint accounts, everything. Even a timeline. And yeah, there it was, proof she'd been moving small chunks of money into a separate account, just below the limits that would have triggered alerts. It was smart. Lawyer smart. I checked our joint savings. 30 grand gone. That was the expansion fund. Our future. Then I found the messages with someone saved as D. Turns out Caleb wasn't just some hypothetical upgrade. He was already on deck. Been in the picture for 6 months. 6 damn months. I didn't sleep that night. Or the one after. I called in sick on Monday. First time I'd done that in 3 years. While Lena was at work, I went to see a divorce attorney. A buddy had recommended this guy, Jordan. I told him everything. Showed him the screenshots I'd taken off her laptop. Jordan didn't sugarcoat it. He explained that, in our state, because my business took off during our marriage, she could be entitled to half of its value. Even though she never helped with it. Not a single damn hour. I built it from scratch while putting her through law school. When he told me how much the settlement might cost me, my vision blurred. Everything I'd worked for. Every early morning, every missed holiday, every sacrifice, cut right down the middle and handed to the same woman who was planning to gut me behind my back. I looked at Jordan and asked, "So what, you're saying I just take it on the chin?" He started talking about negotiating something amicable and keeping things clean, but I'd already checked out. My brain was elsewhere. Something inside me had snapped. That night, Lena came home and asked if I was feeling any better. She even brought soup. Played the concerned wife routine. I nodded, told her I was just tired. Probably catching a bug or something. She suggested I see a doctor. She was really putting on a show. I thanked her for caring and told her I loved her. She said it back, easy as anything. No hesitation. Just 3 empty words from the same mouth planning to ruin me. Later, we were sitting on the couch. She was scrolling through Instagram, liking a picture her sister had posted of us from Christmas. The caption read #couplegoals. I almost laughed out loud. It was like watching a stranger wear my wife's face. Every smile, every move, it all felt fake. Had she always been like this? Was I blind the whole time? Or did she just change? Honestly, doesn't even matter. I've never been a vengeful guy. When contractors mess me around, I cut ties. If a client pays late, I try to work with them. But this was different. This wasn't business. This was my life. Lying in bed that second night, staring at the ceiling while she slept soundly next to me, probably dreaming about tropical vacations with Caleb, I felt something shift again. Not anger. Clarity. Lena and her family had always underestimated me. Saw the rough hands, the lack of a degree, and figured I was just some dumb guy with tools. But they never understood. Building something from the ground up takes smarts, discipline, and patience. The next morning, I started making calls. First to the bank, then my business partner, then a couple of key clients. By lunchtime, the plan was taking shape. By dinner, I knew exactly what I was going to do. She wants war? Fine. But she's bringing a butter knife to a chainsaw fight. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about making sure she and her family finally understood who they'd been messing with. The guy they spent 7 years mocking? Time to show them what that loser could do. So here I am, 3 days after that dinner, drawing up blueprints for demolition. Like any solid construction project, you don't start swinging a sledgehammer until the groundwork's done. Tomorrow, everything shifts. Lena thinks she's 10 steps ahead. Truth is, she hasn't even seen the game board yet. Her parents? Clueless. Caleb? Whoever the hell he is, he's got no idea what's coming. I supported her dreams for 7 years. Now I get to watch them crumble in real time. Update. First off, thanks to everyone who commented on my last post. I didn't expect that kind of response. Some of you asked if I've cooled down or thought things through more since then. Nope. Still angry. Still moving forward, just smarter about it now. Here's the thing. When you spend your life building stuff with your hands, you learn the hard way that rushing only creates messes you'll have to fix later. Revenge? Same deal. Gotta start with a solid foundation. The morning after that post, Lena left for work like it was just another Monday. Gave me a kiss goodbye, reminded me to call the plumber about that leaky faucet in the guest bathroom, and asked if I could grab her dry cleaning. The normalcy of it was almost surreal. Like watching someone casually stroll through a minefield they laid themselves. Once she pulled out of the driveway, I got to work. First step, protect my business. I called my accountant, asked him to meet at the coffee shop near my office. No way I was having that talk on the phone or back at work where someone might overhear. Now here's the thing. When you're building a business and trying to support someone through school, you cut corners sometimes. Not because you want to, but because you're bone-tired from 14-hour days. Some records weren't perfect. Lena even helped with some of our early tax stuff back when we couldn't afford a real accountant. That meeting with my accountant, let's call him Reed, was a real eye-opener. Reed looked exhausted. Turns out Lena had already contacted him, asking what he thought were harmless questions about business valuation and ownership paperwork. Said she was helping prep for an investor pitch. Reed didn't know what was really going on, so he gave her a few generic answers but felt weird about it and flagged it. When I told him the truth, the blood drained from his face. "Ethan, I need to show you something," he said. He pulled up a bunch of documents from the last few years. Highlighted areas with weird discrepancies, dates that didn't line up, amounts moved between accounts at odd hours, invoice numbers that didn't match. Turns out Lena wasn't just plotting a divorce, she was building a trail. Trying to make it look like I was sloppy with company money. Nothing outright illegal. She's too careful for that. But enough to muddy the waters in court. Enough to justify hiring a forensic accountant who'd cost me thousands just to confirm I hadn't done anything wrong. And meanwhile, the divorce would drag on for months. Reed and I spent 3 hours straight locking everything down. We cleaned up records, clearly documented every transaction, and made sure it was obvious Lena had never played any role in running the company. We even paid off some equipment loans ahead of schedule and fast-tracked supplier payments, getting everything airtight. Right in the middle of that meeting, I got a text from Magnolia. That was odd. We'd always been friendly, but we never really texted one-on-one. She asked if I had time to meet up for coffee. Said there was something important we needed to talk about. We agreed to Saturday morning. No clue what it's about, but something tells me it matters. Next, I headed to the bank. There was something Bryce had said during dinner that had been stuck in my head. Something about their parents helping Lena when the time comes. I had a hunch. And if there's one thing I've learned from construction, it's that hunches, when you listen to them, can save your ass. At the bank, I sat down with our financial advisor and asked a few pointed questions. Turns out, my gut was right. 2 weeks ago, Lena had applied for a home equity line of credit against our house. The same house that's mostly in my name, since I paid the down payment with savings from before we were married. The same house I poured months of my life into renovating, raising the value by nearly $100,000 with my own 2 hands. The application hadn't fully cleared yet, but it was moving through the system. And since my name's on the title, I was still listed as someone who needed to sign off. One more week, and she could have tapped into nearly $300,000 in cash, with me legally on the hook to pay it back. The advisor looked uncomfortable when I told him I'd never approved this. After I showed him my ID and our marriage certificate, I was able to cancel the whole thing. Then I went home and transferred half of our joint savings into my personal account. Exactly what I had contributed. Petty? Maybe. But still a hell of a lot less than what she was planning to take from me. And yeah, I did something I'm not exactly proud of next. Desperate times, right? I installed a few small audio recorders in the living room and bedroom. Totally legal in our state. It's my house too. But let's be real, it was a moral gray zone. I also put a small camera in our office, pointed at her desk. After that, I grabbed the leash and took the dog for a walk around the block like nothing was wrong. Waved at neighbors. Threw a ball for little Jenkins' kid. Picked up some dog poop while mentally mapping out the total takedown of my marriage. Just a regular Tuesday. That night, over dinner, Lena seemed distracted. Kept checking her phone. I asked how her day went. She gave vague, half-mumbled answers. Then her phone buzzed again, and I caught a quick flash of the name on the screen, Caleb. Who's Caleb? I asked casually, stabbing another bite of pasta like it was no big deal. She froze just a second, fork halfway to her mouth. Oh, she said, new client at the firm. Time-sensitive stuff. Then she flipped her phone face down on the table. That tiny pause told me everything. 7 years with someone, you pick up on those things. Must be pretty urgent if he's texting during dinner, I said, still playing the role of chill husband. She forced a smile. You know how some people are? No boundaries. The irony nearly made me choke on my garlic bread. After dinner, she claimed she had some work to finish and disappeared into the office. I washed dishes, making enough noise for her to think I was occupied, then slipped over to the hallway. She'd left the office door cracked open. Her voice carried just enough. Low, intimate. Not her work voice. Not the tone she uses with family. It was the voice I used to hear in our bedroom. You can't just call whenever you want. No, he doesn't suspect a thing. Just be patient. Yes, I miss you too. Each sentence felt like another shovel of dirt thrown over the grave of our marriage. The fury I'd been bottling up almost boiled over. I wanted to storm in there and end it right then and there. But that would have ruined everything. So I walked back to the kitchen, turned the faucet on, washed dishes I'd already cleaned, planned my next moves. In construction, timing is everything. Pour concrete too soon after rain, and it won't set right. Rush the framing, the whole damn house leans. Revenge? Same principle. It needs time to cure. Wednesday morning, I made a mistake. Left a printed set of divorce papers sitting out on the nightstand. Not filled in. Just the standard forms you can pull from the county website. When I came back from my shower, I noticed they'd been moved a bit. She'd seen them, but she didn't say a word. Neither did I. That day at work, I got busy behind the scenes. Started calling in favors, not for money, but for information. One of those calls led me to something big. Caleb wasn't just some guy. He was close with Bryce, Lena's brother. They'd gone to college together. Same circles, same upper-crust background her parents adored. And guess what? Caleb had shown up at plenty of family events over the years. Ones I missed because I was working my ass off. Birthday dinners. That ski trip. Even the cruise I skipped to finish the project that launched my company. Through a mutual contact, I found out Caleb and Lena had dated back in college, before she met me. Everything started clicking. This wasn't just cheating. This was a long game. While I dug into all that, I also started putting together a spreadsheet, meticulous, detailed, documenting every cent I spent helping Lena chase her law career. Tuition, books, rent, the laptop I bought her for graduation, her bar exam prep course, her first set of interview suits, even the countless Ubers I paid for when she studied late at the library and I didn't want her taking the train home alone. Final total? $134,572. That's not even counting the interest I could have made if I'd invested it in my business instead of her future. That night, out of nowhere, Lena initiated sex. First time in months. And yeah, I almost laughed. The timing was just too perfect. Was this part of her little game plan too? Keep me distracted, satisfied, while she put the final nails in the coffin. I went through the motions. Gave her what she expected. But I felt nothing. Just detachment. After she fell asleep, I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling fan, counting the spins instead of sheep. One question looped through my head the whole time. How long had our marriage been fake? Had it always been transactional to her? Was I just a stepping stone? Thursday morning rolled in with a coffee meeting I'd set with Magnolia. I got there early. Scrolled Reddit while I waited. Still seeing support roll in from strangers online. People shared their own stories. Some were even worse than mine. The solidarity helped. A little. Magnolia walked in looking nervous. She's always been the odd one out in that family. More real. Less obsessed with looking perfect. She ordered some overly complicated coffee and picked at a muffin while we chatted about random stuff. Then she took a deep breath. What she said next confirmed everything. She'd known about Lena and Caleb for months. Had caught them together at their parents' lake house during a family weekend I missed because of a burst pipe at a job site. She confronted Lena. Was told it was a one-time mistake. But it wasn't. Not long ago, after another family dinner I'd also skipped, Lena got drunk and spilled the entire plan to her. She was going to stay with me until she made partner. Then jumped ship to Caleb, with half my assets cushioning the fall. Magnolia told me all of this because she couldn't stomach it anymore. Said she'd always liked me. Thought I'd been good to her sister. Never understood why the rest of the family treated me like I wasn't enough. I thanked her for being honest. Played it cool. Didn't let on that I already knew most of it. Just asked her to keep our conversation between us. She agreed to keep it between us, looking almost relieved, like a weight had finally been lifted. As she was leaving, she gave me a quick hug and whispered, "I'm sorry." It was the first real human moment I'd felt in days. That Thursday night, I started the next phase of the plan. I created a fake business emergency and called Lena. Told her we had a major client on the brink of pulling out. Total financial chaos. Said I needed support, hers and her family's. A crisis meeting. Friday night. She hesitated. Said she had plans. I leaned into it. Let my voice shake a little. Told her I was scared. That I might lose everything we'd worked for. I guilt-tripped her hard. And it worked. She agreed to host a last-minute family dinner Friday night. Said she'd call her parents and Bryce. Perfect. Friday morning, I went through the checklist one last time. Set up the dining room. Slid a folder full of documents next to my seat. Loaded every shred of evidence, screenshots, emails, recordings, financial records, onto a tablet. Even picked up her favorite dessert from that overpriced bakery across town, just to set the scene. At the office, I wrapped up loose ends and sat down with my business partner. Told him everything. He was floored, but supportive. We've been tight since high school. He knows the price I paid to put Lena through school. And not just financially. When I got home, Lena was already there, setting out the good plates again. The symmetry hit me like a gut punch. Another family dinner, same setting, but the roles had flipped. She was on edge, checking her phone like it was breathing. When I asked if everyone was confirmed, she gave me a distracted nod. Her parents were bringing wine. Bryce and his wife were coming. I suggested we invite Magnolia too. Lena looked surprised but texted her without hesitation. I watched her type it out. Perfect. Everyone would be there. As I headed upstairs to shower, Lena called after me, asking what exactly the business issue was. Said she wanted to be prepared to give advice. I told her I'd explain it all at dinner. Just once. With everyone present. In the shower, I went over my script in my head. Practiced the order. Rehearsed how the evidence would drop, one piece at a time. It felt like prepping for the most dysfunctional PowerPoint presentation ever. I got dressed in the outfit Lena always said made me look sharp. Dark jeans, blue button-down, leather shoes instead of boots. The costume for my final performance as her loving husband. Downstairs, I could hear her talking in hushed tones on the phone. Thanks to the recorder in the living room, I'd be able to listen back later if I needed to. But I already knew who she was talking to. Already knew what she was saying. Let her have this moment. Let her whisper sweet nothings to Caleb. Let her think everything was going according to plan. Let her enjoy those last hours of thinking she was the mastermind. The doorbell rang. She jumped, cutting the call short. Her parents arrived first. Gerald handed me an expensive bottle of wine and gave me that same fake friendly handshake, already fishing for details about the so-called emergency. Bryce and his wife showed up next. Then Magnolia. She couldn't quite meet my eyes. Everyone was in place. All the key players in this mess gathered around the same table. As we were getting ready to eat, Lena touched my arm and asked if I was okay. She sounded sincere, so much so that, for a split second, I felt this weird flicker of doubt. Was it possible I'd misread all of this? That I built some wild story out of nothing? Then her phone buzzed. Caleb's name flashed across the screen. She shut it off fast, but that moment erased any hesitation I had left. I sat at the head of the table, folder beside my plate. Lena was on my right, Gerald on my left. It was perfect, like a twisted mirror image of the last dinner. But this time, I was the one hiding something. As Irene asked about the wine, I noticed Magnolia watching me closely. Her face was a mix of curiosity and dread. She knew something was coming, just not what. I stood up and raised my wine glass. Everyone quieted down, expecting me to talk about the big business crisis. I looked at each of them, one by one. Left Lena for last. Before we get into tonight's meeting, I said, I'd like to propose a quick toast. To family. To loyalty. And to finally seeing things for what they are. Confused looks all around. That was just the beginning. They had no idea what was coming. Not even Lena. Final update. I've been sitting here watching my phone blow up 49 texts from Lena in the last 3 days. Each one more frantic than the last. And I promised I'd tell you how the dinner went. Oh, it was something else. So there I was, glass in hand, making a toast to family, loyalty, and clarity. Everyone looked confused. It was beautiful. I sat down, took a slow sip of Gerald's overpriced wine, and got started. So, about this business emergency. Lena gave my hand a supportive squeeze. The nerve. Honestly, I had to respect the acting skills. I nodded, pulled out my tablet, and said, I've discovered a set of problems that could destroy everything I've built. And they've been happening right under my nose. Gerald perked up. His smugness practically radiated. Financial trouble? Cash flow issues? He asked, already preparing to gloat. I've always said your business model seemed fragile. No, I replied, connecting the tablet to the TV. The problem's not with my business. It's with my marriage. Silence. Lena froze. Ethan, she whispered. What are you doing? I turned to her and said, when you're tearing down a structure, you don't start with the roof. You break the foundation first. Then I hit play on the recording, that recording from the last family dinner. Her and Bryce, standing outside by the azaleas. His voice came through the speakers loud and clear. You need to divorce him before you have kids and get stuck forever. Then hers, already working on it. Lawyer says we can take half his business too. I watched the reactions around the table. Bryce turned ghost white. Irene gasped, covering her mouth. Gerald clenched his jaw, so tight I thought he'd crack a molar. Magnolia just closed her eyes, like someone watching a slow-motion train wreck they'd seen coming from miles away. Lena? She didn't move. She just sat there as the walls of her master plan came crashing down. Next, I pulled up the screenshots. Text between her and Caleb. I blurred some of the more explicit stuff, but left just enough to paint the full picture. 6 months, I said. 6 months you've been sneaking around while I was putting in 60-hour work weeks. I looked at her parents. Did you know she was cheating? Or just that she was planning to screw me over? Gerald opened his mouth to speak. But I wasn't done. I swiped to the spreadsheet. Every single dollar I'd spent putting Lena through school. $134, $572, I said out loud. This is what I invested in our future, while I was building my business from scratch. Next screen, documentation of the hidden bank account. Then the canceled home equity line she tried to take out behind my back. And this, I said, is how she planned to thank me. Silence. Then it all erupted at once. Gerald stood up so fast he knocked over his chair. This is absurd, he snapped. Lena, we're leaving. Lena grabbed my arm. Ethan, please, I can explain. And Bryce? The coward started fumbling with his phone under the table, trying to delete messages. I pointed straight at him. The ones you're deleting? I've already got backups. All the times you helped plan this. Bryce froze mid-scroll. His wife stared at him, horror slowly dawning in her eyes. Lena changed tactics. Her voice cracked. Tears started forming. It wasn't like that, she said. I was confused, unhappy. We've been drifting apart for years. Drifting apart? I said, barely holding it together. While I was paying for your law school, while I was building everything for us. I hadn't planned to lose my temper. But something inside snapped. 7 years, I said, my voice low. 7 years I believed in us. And I was just a pit stop on the way to someone better. Her father jumped in. Whatever issues you two have are private. But if you think this stunt is going to intimidate my daughter, you're wrong. We have resources you couldn't begin to understand. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Resources? Like the 20 grand she stole from our joint account? Or the hellic she tried to sneak through against my house? As Gerald launched into a rant about everything they'd done for us, I saw Lena texting under the table again. That's when I dropped the final bomb. Did Lena tell you Caleb's married? The room went still. Gerald froze mid-sentence. Yeah, I said, calm as ever. I found out yesterday. His wife's name is Tessa. She was very understanding when I showed her the messages. Lena's face turned the color of paper. You, what? She whispered. We had coffee yesterday. I figured she deserved the truth. That's when Gerald completely lost it. He grabbed the edge of the dining table, the one I built myself, and flipped it. Food, wine, plates, everything went flying. Lena screamed. Irene gasped. Bryce stumbled back like he was dodging gunfire. Me? I just sat there, calm, watching 7 years of pretending collapse in a single moment. Magnolia was the only one who moved to help pick things up. We locked eyes across the wreckage. She gave me the smallest nod. Was it respect? Understanding? I couldn't quite tell. Gerald pointed at me, his hand shaking. You think you've won? You're nothing. You work with your hands because you weren't smart enough for school. My daughter made a mistake slumming with you. But we'll fix it. I stood up slowly. I might work with my hands, I said, but at least I built something real. What have you built? Besides a family full of liars. He lunged at me. Actually tried to throw a punch. Bryce barely managed to hold him back while he shouted threats about lawyers and court. Lena kept saying, Ethan, please, can we talk privately? This isn't what I wanted. What you wanted? I cut her off. You mean the divorce? The half of everything I built? The affair with Caleb? I shook my head. There's nothing to talk about. I walked to the front door and opened it. I think it's time you all left. Bryce pulled Gerald out first. Irene followed in silence. Magnolia lingered at the door. I'm sorry, she said softly. I always thought you deserved better. Then it was just me and Lena, standing in the wreckage of what used to be our dining room. Where are you going to go? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. I already have a hotel room, I said. I'll be back tomorrow, when you're at work, to get my things. You planned this, she said, stunned. I learned from the best, I told her, grabbing the overnight bag I'd packed the day before. As I walked out, she called after me. You'll regret this. My father wasn't bluffing about the lawyers. I didn't answer. Some foundations are too damaged to rebuild. That night, in a quiet hotel room, I slept better than I had in months. The next day, I went back while Lena was gone. Packed what mattered, clothes, tools, family photos, the dog stuff, and left my key on the kitchen counter. I'd already signed a lease on a small apartment near my workshop. Not hiding, just starting over. Told my team I'd be working remotely for a bit. Personal matters. Then I unplugged. No social media. No email. Just me, my dog, and some quiet. 2 days passed. By the third morning, I finally turned my phone back on. It started buzzing immediately. 49 WhatsApp messages from Lena. Every one of them more chaotic than the last. The first few were all caps. How dare you embarrass me like that? You ruined everything. Then came the softer ones. Ethan, please call me. We need to talk. I know I messed up, but we can work through this. By message 33, she was bargaining. I'll go to therapy. I'll cut my family off. Just please talk to me. Message 44 just said, I'm sorry. The last two hit at 4:14 a.m. I told Caleb everything. About the money. The divorce plans. He said we could still be together. Then, he just broke up with me. Said he's trying to fix things with Tessa. I have no one now. I read through them, feeling nothing. No satisfaction. No closure. Just a weird kind of tired. Like finishing a job you gave everything to, knowing the client will never understand the work. As I scrolled, a new message popped up. Ethan, I know you're reading these. Please just tell me what you want. Money? The house? I'll sign anything. And there it was. She still didn't get it. It was never about the money. It was about betrayal. About years I'll never get back. About a future that was never real. So I finally replied. I've already sent the divorce papers to your office. All I want is for this to be over fast. She responded instantly. Can we meet? Just to talk? Before I could answer, my phone rang. It was Jordan, my lawyer. Turns out Tessa, Caleb's wife, had reached out to him. After I showed her the messages, she did some digging of her own. Found out Caleb had pulled the same stunt with other women. Now she wanted to compare notes. Help my case. As Jordan talked, I looked around my new place. Mattress on the floor. Half unpacked boxes. The dog curled up next to me, eyes half closed but watching. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something close to peace.